So how long have you been 100% eating raw foods?
100%, what's that? I mean, um, I, since March of '96, I've basically been not cooking food. I think I ate a cooked food meal once, a couple, 3 years ago, something like that, just for fun. I was with some friends and I ate raw food, they didn't, and we were bored, and we were like, well, what are we going to do tonight? I was like, hey, I know, let's go eat a cooked food meal and see what happens to you.
And what did happen?
So that's what we did. We went and ate a cooked food meal, and it was a vegan meal. It was at Giovanni's, I think it was called, some restaurant in Tucson, and where they chant over the food and put a lot of good energy into it. And I felt just heavy after the meal. I felt like I didn't digest it well. I got a lot of rumbling and sort of gas, and that's normal. Anytime anybody eats a meal that's not what they're used to, their body's gonna react in a way that's, it's adjusting to something different. So, my body was just, it was not what it was used to, and so it kind of had a little bit of funky stuff going on, but nothing super major, but.
Do you actually think, as many raw foodists say, that cooked food is actually toxic? Is it toxic to your system?
All depends on the state of mind you're in when you eat it. I think a big mistake that raw foods people make is they kind of give the power to the food, and the power is really not in the food. The power is in us. And I think that a raw foods person eating a meal alone, stressed out if they're eating the quote right food, maybe not satisfying their taste buds because they're trying to eat this perfect pristine diet, alone somewhere in an apartment because they don't eat anymore with their friends, and just generally miserable and unhappy, is gonna the meal that they eat is going to do more damage to their body than somebody eating a cooked food meal that is with friends, and there's a lot of love between the people they're eating with, and they feel really happy, and they feel really good about what they're eating, and so it's really, it's huge, it's just, sometimes I almost wonder, my health has definitely improved eating this way, but hey, it's like, this is what I'm excited about eating, this is what I'm enthusiastic about eating, so if I was enthusiastic about eating cooked food, hey, maybe
really?
My health would have improved as well.
Really?
So, yeah, I just, the more I'm on this planet, the more and it's just a process that's happening in my life too, is I'm realizing that, the power is in me, and maybe raw foods has supported me in getting to that understanding, because, that is, when you become part of nature, you start to become conscious of what is running nature, the original source of what's producing all life. And I feel like I'm beginning to focus my attention on that. And as I do that, I'm becoming less and less concerned about what my diet is. I just did a fast. I just did a long fast, 25-day water fast, and a lot of people say after a fast your diet improves. You actually are able to eat less food, and I have noticed a little bit of that. But what's interesting, what has happened is I've become less concerned about what I eat, in the sense that I'm starting to use ingredients. I'm getting into like really gourmet, like fancy dishes, and I'm even using some ingredients that aren't raw because for taste,
Like?
Nutritional yeast,
Mm-hmm.
Miso. Some people would argue that's not a raw food, and just a lot of the spices that I use, I'm sure, have been heated at some point in their journey to my kitchen. Just don't worry about it. Whatever. It's just, my feeling is if you're eating a good portion of your diet raw foods, you've got the food thing down. It's time to move on to other areas of your life, and just concentrate on, the areas of your life that you're not happy with, and just,
So I'm certainly you've seen then that some raw food people, practitioners, or people that are maybe just getting involved in raw foods can become very obsessive about it, and you think maybe that's as harmful as as a cooked food diet could be too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I mean, it just, I don't want to make any general statements because every situation is different. I mean, you know, I think there's a big problem in the whole nutritional understanding in our culture. Everybody's got their little way, you know, the Atkins diet, the zone diet, the vegetarian diet, the raw foods diet, you know, and everyone's sort of got their way of eating, and it's all coming from an intellectual place for the most part. And so because of that, it's kind of like coming from ego in a way, and I just think that that's missing the whole point. You know, it's like the way is going to be different for everyone, and the path that each soul takes in its journey home is different and individual. And so, to me, it's like the reason to do something is not because of some intellectual idea that you have up here or some book you read that makes sense intellectually. The reason to do something is because you feel excitement and enthusiasm about it and for it. And so, to me, I mean, when you feel excitement and enthusiasm about something, it's a clear indication that your soul wants you to move in that direction. So I would advocate, instead of doing things for intellectual reasons, you read a book, it makes sense to you up here, and you say, okay, I want to do this because I think it's going to get me somewhere. I think that's a little off. I think that our minds are very, you know, little in a way, and they're really inappropriate to make decisions based on our minds. The thing to make decisions on or by is our hearts and our souls. And so when you feel that natural enthusiasm and excitement arising up in you for something, move in that direction, because your soul is giving you information there by your feelings of excitement and enthusiasm that that's the direction you need to move in to take your next step in your evolution. And for a lot of people that might be raw foods, and I sense that that is probably the case, that raw foods can really help a lot of people just expand their being. And I think that it's not necessarily for everyone, because to make a statement like that it is for everyone, would be just me, you know, saying that I know what's best for people, and I don't. The only people that know what's best for them is themselves. And so each person needs to tune into their own being and find out what their enthusiasm and excitement is for and move in that direction. And when you do that, you'll, you know, move in the most efficient way back to where you're, you know, heading, which is basically remembering who you really are. So you know, I think raw foods is amazing, and I love it, and I want to share it with as many people as I possibly can, just to give them another option that they may be excited about. And if there is excitement in that person about the raw foods diet, then that's an indication to me that their soul wants to move in that direction. And so I want to do everything I can to support them in moving in that direction and learning how to do it, and you know, because I know that it's going to help them in some way that I'm really not even sure of that they need to be helped in to you know, evolve. So that's my feeling on all that. It's kind of a little bit of a different take, I think.
Oh, I'm loving this. This is so
Yeah.
refreshing to hear.
Yeah, well, it just gives you a sense of relaxation, doesn't it?
Yes,
It's just like, relax. I mean, to a lot of raw foods people, I just want to say, you know what? Just relax. I mean, man, just take a deep breath and relax and know who you are. You know, you are God, basically. And, you know, you don't have to worry if you eat a donut or if you eat a cooked food item. I mean, think of how silly that is to worry about that. You know, I mean, the power is not in the food. The power is in you. Keep your attention on the inner power that's in you, and your life will naturally unfold the way it needs to bring you to more of a remembrance of who you are. And just, you know,